We have a big game to speculate on that I'm sure a lot of people that have tuned into the podcast came here for. Today, since all of you are watching it, the day after we record it, the Lions, the Detroit football, MCDC, Dan Campbell, Motor City, for those that didn't recognize that, Detroit Lions are taking on the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, at their home turf, one of the loudest and proudest stadiums in the NFL, Arrowhead Stadium. And yet, for some reason, call me crazy, call me biased, I think that this matchup actually favors Detroit in a lot of ways. And then you sprinkle Chris Jones not being present, potentially Travis Kelce not being present on top of it, and you end up with a pretty interesting situation. So I think we'll dig into it schematically in a second here, but I just feel like, man, what an awesome matchup to start the NFL season, especially if you're from Detroit. What a great test to see if this really is the brand new Lions, and what an amazing opportunity to start your season off right. So
There's no doubt about it, John. There's no doubt about it. Who would have thought the Detroit Lions would be doing NFL opening kickoff with, and what just a perfect opportunity for a takeover, right? I mean, when you watch UFC or WWE or any of these championship belts, right? And it's like, hey, he's always the champion and you want to take that from them. The Chiefs are hanging their banner at Arrowhead opening night. Tonight. They're doing that. And you're coming in a team that nobody thought you would do anything last year. Nobody thinks you're going to come in and beat the Chiefs for sure. Patrick Mahomes, who cares if Chris Jones and Kelce aren't playing? They're the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose these games. That's what everyone's thinking. 6.5 point spread, and then after the Kelce news, I think it's down to 4.5. But no one's picking the Lions to flat out win. Maybe they'll cover, but no one's thinking they're going to win. But what a perfect environment to go in there and take everything and just spoil the night for these Chiefs fans and for Patrick Mahomes and for all these guys that are going to be celebrating their rings and celebrating this dynasty that they're starting to talk about. What a better way to set the tone for what the Lions want to do this year and to go in and run the ball, which I think they have a favorable matchup in doing against Kansas City, especially without Chris Jones. Hit a little play action against a young secondary that the Chiefs have with guys like Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta. See the coming out party for Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and what that's going to look like, this two-headed monster that's coming out. You have obviously a Lions defense that's much improved on the back half, and they don't have to worry about Kelce. So you're going to see these guys playing truly who they are and not having to change their whole scheme around one guy who's as good as Travis Kelce. Because let's be honest, you play against a guy like Kelce, you're not seeing what a normal defense is. You have to change everything for him.
And know that we don't know for sure if Kelce is or is not going to play tomorrow.
I would strongly think he's not going to play.
It's looking like he's not going to, but there's no official ruling as of recording this on what that situation is. But yep. I mean, look, I completely, and just to touch on some of those things, right? Like, I think the way you beat this team, the way this team has traditionally been beat, is winning in the trenches on both sides of the ball. If you can have a dominant run game, right, which goes with having a dominant offensive line, which the Lions do have, also going against a weakened KC defensive line, you're putting yourself in a good situation because you're keeping the ball in your offense's hands for a really long time. So,
and more importantly, keeping it out of Mahomes' hands.
Correct. And so there's a check there. The second thing is, man, he can scramble outside of the pocket. He can make some ridiculous throws. But if he doesn't have that much time and the pocket's regularly collapsing on him, we have seen that's pretty much the only way to neutralize Patrick Mahomes is to make him run for his life as much as you possibly can. And again, while KC has maybe one of the best interior defensive lines in the league, both of their tackles are fresh. New guys on both the right and the left side. And I think we have a pretty damn good pass rush. So if we can just be above average in KC being able to, defend that pass rush, I think that that's really great for us too. And I think our secondary is versatile. And because of that versatility, I think we're going to be able to be really sticky. I'm not saying we can, cover Kelce outright if he is on the field. I'm not saying that we can, match everybody's speed 1-for-1, but I think we're going to be sticky enough to take away that passing attack. So, okay, you have 3 different avenues that, hey, if we do these things right, we might be in a good shape to win this freaking football game and shock the entire nation on,
The
you know,
formula's
a
there,
season
and
opener.
that is the formula. Make no mistake about it. What John just said is the formula to beat Kansas City for Detroit tonight. That is the formula. Limit them offensively because you're not going to stop them. Limit the Chiefs offensively. Force one turnover out of Patrick Mahomes at some point, whether it's a fumble, whether it's an interception in some kind of trap coverage. Force one, mistake, and then just absolutely dominate time of possession and make sure you score when you get the chance. When you get in that red zone, feed Montgomery, get creative with Gibbs, get creative with Amon-Ra. Make sure you get 6 points, 7 points every single time. No field goals. Field goals will not beat Kansas City. And be aggressive from the get-go. That's the formula to beating them.
We know that Dan Campbell's going to do a just fine job of being aggressive from the get-go, and I do have to appreciate this too. Obviously, Arrowhead is loud. Dan Campbell wanted to make sure it was loud at practice this week. He carded in, and coming from a musician, yeah, that's enough to probably fill up like a 3,000, 4,000 person music venue. That's probably like enough juice right there. And he was just blasting music the entire time the past 2 days of practice.
John, you want to hear a funny side story?
Yeah.
So, in regards to like prepping for a game like that, when I was at Central, playing at Central, we were going on the road to play at Wisconsin, which sits, I think, 88,000 people. They're famous for their jump around going into the fourth quarter, where you can there's actually like measurable, like it's a small earthquake, like you can feel on the Richter scale. I think that's the right scale. You can feel like a very, very minor movement. And so we were going into this game understanding the fact that we weren't going to be able to hear people 1 foot apart. Like you weren't going to be able to hear. And so what we did, and on top of that, it was supposed to rain. So what we did is we had the same thing. We brought in speakers. We blasted crowd noise the whole time. No music, crowd noise, just people yelling. And then what we did is we went outside and we had, I don't even know, probably 20 or so people on each sideline with hoses, spraying hoses up in the air. So it was like raining on us. And we would practice, and they would spray the ball and throw the ball into the set. Like it was pretty cool. It didn't even end up raining in the game, but I'll tell you what, there was nothing that quite prepares you for 88,000 people jumping up and down at the same time when you're down 63-0 and Jonathan Taylor just rushed for 500 yards. But when you're looking around, it was seriously one of the cooler things that I've been a part of. But again, like there's nothing truly to prepare you for that moment. You just kind of have to react and instinctively respond. But it doesn't hurt bringing in those speakers and getting them used to loud noises.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it's going to be an atmosphere that you're not going to be able to match in practice, no matter what you do. But we'll see what happens with it. I think as long as the Lions' offense looks like they did last year, and that secondary remains, again, not perfect, just a little bit more sticky, we should be in good shape. But either way, I'm jacked, and I think it's a great test to see what this team could become, because they might not.
Hungry dogs run faster, John. And who's hungrier?
I think the Lions are, for sure.
Hungry dogs run faster.
We'll see what happens with it. I cannot wait. I'm just gonna wake up with a smile on my face tomorrow. I'm probably gonna throw this exact same jersey on.
You shouldn't change. You shouldn't change. You sleep in
just
work in it, and just by the time it's game time.
Oh, I'm working in it too, and tomorrow's my big day of meetings, and I'm gonna be showing up.
You gotta be repping that.
100%. I'm feeling very confident. Maybe too confident the Lions are going to cover. So that's where I'm at with that. And I honestly think the Lions can win this game too, but I think the Lions will cover.
I think the Lions will cover. I bet this myself at 6.5 before the Kelsey news broke. So I'm feeling pretty good. I would not warrant a money line bet on Detroit because Patrick Mahomes is still a very, very scary thing to go against, but I would not be surprised to see them win. And like I said, hungry dogs do run faster. And if there was ever a time to pull it off, if there was ever a time the Chiefs are vulnerable, it is right now, where they are full. They're not hungry. They're sitting there. They're bringing their dessert entrees coming in, right? They got brownies, cake, ice cream, cherry on top. Everything's getting served to them right now, right? All the praise in the world. And Detroit's getting all this hype. And it's just feeding into this hunger from missing the playoffs last year and being so close and being so bad for so long. It's kind of just like the worst against the best coming together. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see it. But I'm gonna say that the Lions cover.